I'm so excited we're going thrifting today. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my best tips and tricks to make your home look high-end without spending a lot of money. It's the perfect time of year to revamp your decor, and I'm at my favorite thrift store today, Blessings Abound. Let's go in and see what they have. Don't spend a lot of money on mirrors. You can get them here at the thrift store, and honestly, they're so much cooler here at the thrift store anyways. I spotted one that I want to, actually there's two I really like. I love this square one right here. But the one that I think I'm gonna pick up is back here. It's $25. It's got that wavy design that's very trendy right now. Let's get it and DIY. Now, the outside of our Anthropologie inspired mirror was looking a little rough, so I wanted to update it. I knew that I was probably gonna paint it. To do that, I need to tape off the mirror. I used a little bit of painter's tape around the edge. So I placed down some newspaper and I just used a little bit more painter's tape to hold that in place. Then I'm gonna paint on 2 coats of paint. I went with the color Accessible Beige, and you just wanna cover the entire frame. Once that's dry, you can remove your painter's tape. And if you're like me and struggle to keep the paint where it's supposed to go, just take one of the Dollar Tree paint scrapers and you can scrape off along the mirror to clean it up really nice. Here's a hack you can try the next time you're thrifting. So come over here to the book section and look for these larger books that have really amazing pictures in them. They're usually pretty affordable, and you can use these pictures as prints in your frames to put out sitting on your shelves or on your walls. I found this one. This is a Colorado book, and I love all the landscape prints. I also found this other one. This has like the top American museum prints. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments which one you would pick up. Either the landscape or the museum prints. I think I'm gonna get the museum one. If you're spending full price on frames, you need to stop and pick them up here at the thrift store. So to go along with my book, I found some frames. This one is an 8x10. I found this one in the clearance section. I'm hoping it's less than $2. And then I also think I'm gonna pick up this one. Now, these frames need a lot of work, but I can definitely restain them or really do anything with them. I flipped through the book and picked out some of my favorite pictures. I also had to make sure that these pictures would actually fit into the frames that I selected. But then I started to pull the pages out and I ripped one of them, which was not good. So I went and got my box cutter and I just cut on the page so that they would come out a little bit easier and preserve more of the page. I wanted them all to be the same color, so I'm gonna be using the gel stain in coffee, and I'll just wipe that onto the frames, and then I'll remove the excess with a paper towel. Whenever you use gel stain, I feel like it takes a little bit longer to dry, so I would give these a good 24 hours to dry before moving on to your next step. Then I just selected the pictures that I wanted to add in, and I put one into my 8x10 frame. I did have another one that had a nice mat, so I just added the mat to that one. And then I cut a smaller one for my smallest frame. And I think these look great in a grouping. Not to mention, I have so many other great prints that I can use from that book for future projects. How cool is this vintage checkerboard? I've seen something similar to this on Pottery Barn's website that's so expensive. Let's see if I can do a little DIY to this and make it work in my house. This was such a great vintage find, and I wanted to make it fit into my home. And the colors in my home are a little bit more neutral, so I knew that I needed to paint it. So I wanted to make it black, and you can see the checkered pieces are red right now. So I was going to make them black. I thought about painting it, but then I thought honestly a better option was going to be using a Sharpie because I thought I could get a more precise line. So essentially all I wanted to do was use a black Sharpie on any area that was red. So to do this, to create straight lines for myself, I just used a scrap end of a piece of paper to really draw a straight line across. And this helped me, so I made lines around all of the squares, and I repeated this for every single one of the squares. Now I have to tell you, this took me a while to do, but it turned out so well. I did have to go in and add a little bit more Sharpie here and there just to make sure I completely covered up that red, but all in all, it worked really well. Now I thought for the outside, I did want that to be black as well, but I thought I could paint that. So I put a little bit of painter's tape around the edge. And then I'm gonna be using the color Black Magic, another sample paint that I have, a very popular black color, and I'll just paint 2 coats on the outside. I wanted to turn this into a checkered board box. And to do that, I was like looking around the thrift store for a box. I couldn't find anything. And then I remembered one of the last times I was thrifting, I found this large tray. And this tray has been sitting on my coffee table for a while now. And I thought, hey, that would work perfectly. All you have to do is put it on top of that tray. And that's what I'm gonna be doing. But what are we gonna use for our checkered board pieces? Well, for this, I went on Amazon and I found these wood stained pieces. They had a lighter wood one and a darker wood one, but I wanted to take it up a notch. So again, I went looking in my craft room for things that I had, and I spotted these dried florals. Now I've been using these for so many projects. I first used these on pumpkins in the fall. Then over Christmas, for a Christmas present, I made a bookmark with these, and I thought, what if I added a floral or a greenery piece onto the checkered pieces? So that's what we're gonna do. I didn't have that many, so I had to kind of map out the ones I wanted to use and put them out on a tray. Then I just added a little bit of Mod Podge to the top of the checkered piece, and I placed a flower or a greenery piece on top. I let that dry, and then I came back in and did another layer of Mod Podge on the top. I think this makes these pieces look so cute, and they even come with a bag to store them all in. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Comment the word of the day, which is thrifting. My thrift store has a whole section of silver items, and they're so good. I always find the best little items, like this little cup right here. I also really love this dish. Now this one is $4. You can use these all over your house. Not only does this make a great decor piece, it's also really useful. Like you could put your keys in here, candy. You could also do a DIY with it, make a candle, really so many options. So I picked up 2 silver pieces from the collection that they have at my thrift store. One was this dish that I thought would be great to sit out on a shelf. And this one was this little cup. Now I did pick up a silver polish off of Amazon. I will link it for you down below, but this silver polish is going to be great to really clean up the cup and this piece and just bring them back to life. So using a microfiber towel, I put a little bit of the cleaner on there and I just wiped them clean. Once I got them polished up, I just rinsed them off and used another microfiber towel. Now with the smaller cup, I want to show you a DIY option you can use that would go really well with your blue and white candle. So to the bottom, you can get a match striking strip. Now I found these off of Amazon that already have stickers on the bottom. So you could either use one off of Amazon and just stick it to the bottom. Some other options I've done in the past, I've gotten a Matchbox kit and cut it off and then just hot glued it to the bottom. The problem with that is it doesn't sit as flat, so you just have to keep that in mind, but that's another option as well. And then I added some matches to the top of my container. I think this looks adorable sitting out and it's very functional. This is my favorite end cap, this blue and white dishes. You guys know I love blue items. Now, let me show you some of the things that I'm first drawn to. This bowl, so cute. I think it may be a little too royal blue for me, but if that's your color, that would be so good. I think the thing that I'm gonna pick up is this right here, this little blue and white dish. Let me show you how you can turn this into home decor. So I'm gonna be trying something new with this blue and white dish. I want to make a sand candle. I saw one of these these online, thought it looked so high end. So I went on Amazon and I found this sand that came with wicks, and I don't know if this is gonna work. We're gonna try this out together. I started by adding the sand. So I have to show you, this came packaged so funny. It was like this flat piece that didn't even look like sand. When this came in the mail, I was like, what in the world is this? But I cut it open and poured the sand inside. Out came the wicks and the bottoms to the wicks, but it was all in there. So I added all of the sand to the bottom of my blue and white dish that I had previously cleaned out. Now I need to add the wicks. To add the wicks, you're just going to place them into the bottom piece and then cut them off where you think you want them to be, and then you can put them down into the sand. I added in 4 wicks, and then I did have to cut them because I made them a little bit too long. But then you can light these and you have this really cool candle to sit out in your home. I always look over here in the tray section. Now this one popped up and it's just very interesting to me. I feel like this is something I could style in a grouping, and because it's got a lot of texture and it's kind of like a wonky piece, I feel like it could be really interesting. So I'm walking in the furniture aisle and I just spotted this, you guys. It's a bread box, but it's only $4. It's in such great shape. We're trying to figure out what's wrong with it, and there's really nothing wrong with it. So I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna clean it up. I'm gonna do a little DIY and show you a functional way you can use this in your home. I'm gonna remove the glass from the front of my bread box, and this was filthy. I definitely had to clean this off. Now to remove it, I just cut a slit at the top and pulled the glass out. Then I cleaned it with some Dawn dish soap and a cloth. I wanted to go through and stain this entire box because honestly, it looked pretty good. It was just worn and needed to be refreshed. So I used some sandpaper and sanded down all the rough edges. Then I used a microfiber cloth to clean it up and clean it out. Then I used a stain color that was similar to the stain color that was already on there because I didn't want to pull off all the stain. And I'll apply the stain with a foam brush. I'll just put it on, and then I'll let it sit and do a few sides. Then I'll remove any excess with a paper towel. And I repeated these steps on the entire box. I also opened up the lid and did the inside. Now you're gonna wanna let your stain dry overnight, and then you can put back in your glass and it's ready to go. This is how it looks in my pantry, and you guys remember how inexpensive this was. I never leave the thrift store without checking this wicker basket section. I mean, there's so many good finds. I definitely like these smaller ones. They're just $1, perfect for little items. This other one I spotted down here, I'm not a fan of the color, but I do think it would be great for organizing. You could definitely stain it another color or you could paint it, but the one that I think I'm going to pick up are these. I think these would be so great for organizing. I wonder if I could add maybe some labels to the front. I wanted to use these baskets in my makeup room, so I'm gonna print out a couple of labels. Now I used my regular label maker for this. I will link to my label maker down below, but I simply just printed skincare and makeup. This is such a great label maker. It prints labels out in just a few seconds. And then I cut out a few pieces from that makeup bag. I wanted to create a square and cut those out. And then I'm gonna hot glue those squares to the front of my baskets. And then I'll add on the labels. I can fill these with my makeup and my skincare. You can find so many cool things at the thrift store. There's this little section here of wood appliques. They look like they were bought maybe on Amazon, but there's 4 of them. They only want $2 for them. If I could find like a really great frame or mirror, these would be perfect. I really like the look of this oval frame. I think it's so pretty. And do you remember I picked these little wood appliques? I was thinking it would look perfect on the top there. And I wanted to make this functional, so I think I'm gonna turn it into some jewelry organization. I just really love this frame that we picked up. So I got the frame where it was just the frame. And then remember that applique piece that I picked up? I'm going to attach that with some E6000. Now with E6000, you want to let this dry for a few hours. Next, I'm going to paint it. It's a little cold at my house right now, so I'm not going outside to spray paint. So what I'm going to be using is just a sample paint. And I have several sample paints. You can get these too. They're around $5 usually, and you can get them at any big box store or paint store. Just pick out some of your favorite colors and ask them to make up a sample in that color. So I'm going to be using this pretty blue color. Since I only want to add one coat, one of my tricks I like to do is to mix the paint with baking soda. That's going to give the paint a rougher texture, and usually I can get by with just one coat. So I'll mix the paint with the baking soda and I'm going to apply it to the entire frame. Let that dry, and while that's drying, I'm gonna work on the inside. Now, inside of my frame, I had this cardboard piece that's gonna be perfect as a backing, but I do wanna change what it looks like. So I was looking around my craft room and I found this wallpaper. This was left over from a wall art piece I made a few months ago, and I'm going to cut this down, trace around my oval, and then I'll cut it out. And then I'll attach it to the front of my mirror. This is just a peel and stick wallpaper. I used painter's tape to create 3 lines that's gonna help me with creating lines for putting down the hooks. So I started by putting one in the center. To make it functional as a jewelry organizer, I bought these miniature teacup hooks off of Amazon. They come in different colors. I went with the gold ones. And then I'll come back in and I just screwed in those little hooks. I didn't use any tools. I didn't drill. I was able to just poke them down and they screwed in pretty good. On the top, I'm gonna put 2 inches so that when I'm hanging this up, there's going to be an area that goes in between. So that when I'm hanging them up, I can put a necklace in between the hooks in the middle. Then I'm going to measure 1.5 inches on that middle line and make a little dot. And I'll repeat those steps on the bottom line as well, so I'll put them about 2 inches apart. Then I'm gonna remove the painter's tape and I'll put it back in the frame. And then you can hang this up and you have a great jewelry organizer. In my pantry, I love collecting these little candy dishes. They're so cute. They're perfect for putting out little items or candy. This one's only $4, so I definitely think I'm gonna pick it up. I love having a selection of candy dishes sitting out, and this one is going to be perfect in my collection. Just make sure that you wash it thoroughly before adding it to your kitchen. Let me know what items you're gonna be looking for the next time you shop at the thrift store, and make sure you subscribe because I wanna see you back here, and I'll see you in our next one. Bye.